There we go.
Right, there we go.
What are we talking about?
What do you want to talk about?
I didn't have anything prepared.
Right, well, I've got one. I've got one to kick us off with.
Go on.
If you could go back with everything you know now, go back, see your younger self as a producer.
Yeah.
Best bit of advice you would give yourself to go back about the music industry.
And would I be back in 2007 doing it, or would I be here now?
So you're where you are now.
Yeah.
This is where you are now. You're at this point.
And
From what you know,
2024.
You're 2024 now. Exactly what you know.
Yeah.
You could go back now to the start of You've been 12 months in producing. You're a brand new producer. Been about 12 months in.
Yeah.
You know you want to
Yeah.
crack on with it as a thing. What's the best bit of advice you've learned over all that time?
Actually, I think it applies to both times because it's all about marketing, and the sound is probably secondary to your marketing.
Yeah.
So nowadays it's all about social media, building up your followers, and getting your fan base sorted. But back then, there wasn't such thing as social media.
Right. So all right then, yeah, because I suppose the marketing was very different back in the day when we started. So now it has changed over
massively.
Yeah. So all right then, what advice would you give a new producer who's just been doing 12 months now?
Marketing
in this
social
thing,
media.
Right, so let's go into depth with that then.
Yeah. Well, I'd spend at least as much time as you are producing as on your social media.
On social.
Building up followers, interacting with people.
Yeah. Because it's weird really, because now record labels, if you want to get signed to other record labels, they sign you fan bases.
Yeah,
rather than
they look at you as
tracks.
A pot of money, don't they?
Yeah.
They're not going to sign someone.
And they always have done. Back in the day, they've always looked at you the same. It's just there's different ways to go about it now.
Yeah, because they're not going to invest money into you if they're not going to get anything back. It's a business at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and look at people like Octagon Fish, who's just been basically playing records in his bedroom or wherever
in
it is.
His living room,
living room. And then now he's playing in...
Yeah, he's just started releasing stuff and producing because he's met them people, but from the way he got there to get gigs and be out there and have a real presence, it's work. You're almost like an artist, an act.
Yeah.
And
he's built up his fan base from TikTok and Instagram. And then when it comes to playing out, he's like instantly promotable because all his fans are coming in.
Market.
Marketing.
So what would you? So let's give a little strategy out, because you just say marketing, and then obviously if people are younger, people are like newer or like why marketing? What does that mean? It's just a word. So give us some practical tips of what you would tell him to do.
Document everything that you're doing. So like if you feel a bit uncomfortable getting your face on the in the camera, just video like some work you're doing, like maybe you're making a new track, or you're playing around with a new synth, or you're coming up with a new sound. Video it. Doesn't need to be perfect at all. In fact, probably the less perfect it is, the better. The more people will pick up on it. But just spend as much time as you can doing the social media.
I mean, I suppose as well, one of the things I would say, like with that, is consistency. Nothing happens over one video or one night. Even the artists that you look at and you go, they've blown up, she's blown up, he's blown up. Wow, they've just blown up out of nowhere.
They've been doing it for 10 years.
Yeah, no, they haven't just been blown up out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It looks like they have, but they're not. I always use John Summit as a prime example, because we saw him before and after that blow up on the Deep End track. But you can actually go and look now. So if you go to John Summit and look before his Deep End track on Spotify, go to his all his discography, go right, find Deep End, that track blew him up, have a look before it. He was releasing 6 to 10 tracks every year for 4 years before that. He did little YouTube videos on like little how do you do this rolling bass line in tech and all that type of stuff. He had some of them on. His social media stuff was a little bit better, and then that one track come along, bang. And everyone thinks, it's just that one track blew him up. Nah, it didn't. You know,
not looking at all the graft he's put in.
There is anomalies, and one track can just go bang, blow you up, and boom, away you go, and you've not really had much before it. But even them ones, they've still done other stuff. They've been in other scenes and been in other stuff. Mal P looked like that one track, Drugs of Amsterdam, looked like wow, and then that was him. he's done stuff before that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? He was in the music. It might have been another scene or another whatever. You know, like, us really. We've been in another scenes and other music that people don't know about.
Yeah. We've been doing it for like 15 years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's I suppose that'd be my piece of advice. Don't chase just that one track to blow you up.
Yeah.
From my experience, I've been signed to Sony Ultra. I've had two free releases with them. Ultra Music, arguably the biggest dance label in the world. Armada, we've had a track on D for Dance, which was Defective. Defected. I've had tracks on Repopulate Mars and Solotoko and stuff like that. And it's good. Don't get me wrong, if you can get them on there, and it looks good on your profile as you're building up, but it's just one little piece. That's one little cool little bit of you can go, yeah, I'm on Sonny Fodera's label, I'm on Solotoko, got a release coming up, you can do a little bit of content about it, looks good, you look on your Spotify and there's a lot of and there's bits on there and stuff like that. But just know that doesn't mean you've made it.
No, you've got to keep going.
You've got to keep going on that. And they're like them little wins where you can go and they sort of almost validate.
Yeah.
Buzzing them on that. They think I'm good and he's a really big artist, you know what I mean? And they're playing the track and there. And you've just got to look at them as little wins on your journey to get in there. And
so yours would be consistency then, would it?
Consistency with what you're doing, Don't just make the music. If I could tell myself, not that I ever did chase it, because I did music. I was in the sort of like Clublandy bounce type hard house stuff for a long time. And that scene was just not a big worldwide scene, and I had to make a choice to go, I need to get into a worldwide scene that's a bit more if I want to try and be a full-time touring DJ, because it just wouldn't have happened in that scene. I was playing gigs to 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people, but they were sporadic, and you had to do a normal job to do it. If I wanted to make this my career and my job, to tour the world. So you have to sort of have a look within the scene. You have to have a look at what type of music can do that for you. There's no point making you're really passionate about Albanian fucking flute music, but it's a very small little scene in a town in Bulgaria. You could love it to death, but realistically, that's not gonna give you a full-time job income. So you've got to be a big market for you to get into to obviously do that. So I looked at it in that way, like you've got to sort of have a look. That's got to come into the your
goals.
Yeah, your sort of decision in what you want to do, your goals, your decision. You've got to look at it and you've got to be sensible about weighing that up. It's like any business. You want to open a shop selling knitted socks for cats. That's a very, very niche, But if you open up a shop selling computer games or or whatever, blah blah blah, it's got a more mass appeal. So these underground scenes that are bigger and smaller, bigger. So you've got to find the one that fits you. That's not always easy. I've been through a few things myself, but
and I suppose when you're early on in your career, you do kind of drift a bit. Because I remember making drum and bass at the start because I liked that, and then your sound goes a bit all over the place. You're not really sure where you're going.
No, but you've got
to slowly narrow down, haven't you?
Yeah, but and with that as well, you can slowly chip away and find your path through it. And you'll find and hit onto something. But all the time, if you're doing drum and bass or you're doing house and you're doing, as you're moving, you're learning stuff from that. Take that stuff and learn and push on with it.
So consistency
is a big one. Just make the music you like in a scene that you like and be consistent. Put yourself out there. Let people know you're a producer. Let people know you're a DJ. And let people know what you're up to with your tracks and all that. And just consistently do that.
There we go.
And build up a fan base.
1,000
super fans who download all your stuff and buy all your stuff and all that is better than 100,000 just people who don't like anything or never going to just random and don't like anything. You're better off with that. You know what I mean? So,
cool.
Yeah.
Well, I need to think of something now.
Um.
Okay, I've got one for you.
Go on.
What's your favourite studio piece of equipment?
Favourite studio piece of equipment
could be anything. It could be a mouse. Could be a MIDI keyboard. Could be.
To be fair, mine is probably the push for Ableton. So I was a Cubase user and Pro Tools user for years through uni and all that stuff. I got into Ableton I started using Ableton as my DAW in just about 2019, just before lockdown. They give you like a 90-day free trial. So I got onto that. But as I was researching Ableton and looking at it, watching videos on it and stuff like that, obviously I knew about the push, and I knew about obviously the machine. The native instruments do that, and with the pads and stuff. And what fascinated me with that, and I thought is really good for, I'm musical in music theory. I know a little bit, I know a bit to get me by, but what helped me with the push, locking it to the key, getting it on your synth and just tapping around. I like just finding sounds and tapping around with them, and sort of almost like trial and error, just messing about with pads, and then knowing that I'm in the key of the track, and then I could also change the scale within the key to all these, bluesy scales and bloody all these mad harmonic scales that add stuff in. There's about 40 of them on the thing that you'd never know. You can just flick through them and listen to what they sound and listen to the feel, and I can do that by ear. So I pretty much, I have to push, and you can control Ableton everything. I use a few of the knobs for tweaking, cutting EQ and doing bits like that. And then I use the pads just to lock it in key and be able to play riffs and have the track going and just play riffs on it. I really love that.
Yeah, sick. I think mine is probably similar to yours, but it's the MIDI keyboard in a way. Because it's almost like the push is like your notepad, your musical notepad. Whereas mine, I don't lock myself into keys or anything. I don't worry about them when I'm just writing a track or coming up with an idea. I'll just play different notes and I'll keep them in my head, and I'm like, oh, that kind of works with that note. Oh, it's leading that direction. And I'll think about the track we're trying to make. And if it's like a darker track or something like that, I'll have that in my mind, and I'll be like trying to make happier or darker sounds and things like that. And then once I get it kind of like in a good space on the keyboard, then I'm like, right, I need to put that in the track. And then that's when the actual key of the track comes out, and then I'll find out what the key is. I won't know it until that point. But I'll know the root note, and I'll kind of know where I'm going.
So it's sort of a similar process, but obviously you do it with the keys and stuff like that. And what do you do? So say if you're on in the MIDI keyboard, and there's a bit of a thingy you're hitting, and it's not fitting right, you just knock that back into key, or do you?
It depends.
Or sometimes if you like it, because I know you can borrow chords and borrow notes from other.
Oh, I've no idea about that. So I know a little bit of theory, a bit like you, but I'll just kind of play it, and I'll use my ear, and I'll go, oh, that sounds good. Oh, yeah.
Emma's got her headphones in.
She's chatting to us through the door.
Chatting to herself.
I don't really know. So I do know once I get it into the computer, I can see it. Really, I'm just listening out if that sound kind of works. If I kind of get like a good pattern, or maybe and the pattern, say if the pattern's not quite right, or maybe the notes aren't quite right, I'll then stick it into the into Ableton, or whatever it is, and then I'll start tweaking it in Ableton and trying to like really narrow it in. Usually I can kind of get the notes right when I'm there, and then I'm away.
Oh yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it is how we both use it as our notepad.
That's it. It's just for me, I just find it easy just to tap things away and know that I've got octaves and bits and bobs. I really like using it.
It's good to do. That's a good point, isn't it? We like trial and error.
Because I think that I always like to do that anyway when I'm producing tracks, because I think rather than just having a set, like, I like to start an idea, and you always start an idea with you sort of like your kick, your bass, and you rumbling away, and then I like to see where it goes. I like to find sort of presets and sounds that fit, and tweak and mess about with them, and find little samples and little bits, and that sound fits. It fits. So what can I do with that? And it's weird because I almost when I'm on the push, I'll find a preset and I go, oh, I like that sound, and you have a little tweak and you go, oh, that's good. And I'll almost play something, and I believe when I'm playing something, that sound, there's a riff for that sound. So I'll play a riff, and it might be a pattern, and it doesn't, and I'm like, no, it's not for the track. If I then try and play a different pattern for that sound, it don't seem to work.
Oh, right, okay.
You know what I mean? So it's like almost there's the sound, and there's a pattern for that sound.
Yeah, I know what you
mean. And if that pattern don't really work with what I'm going for, then even though the sound fits sonically, I'll move on, because I'm like, no, because of that.
Yeah.
That pattern, it almost like that pattern and that sound like live together, and I find that, and it rather works or it doesn't, and then I move on. And just try and let the track evolve organically as it can.
Yeah, yeah. I suppose that's another question then. Like, say if you're coming to write a track, I'll give you an example. Like, I have different ways of starting a track.
Right.
If I know what I want out of it, say if I've heard a track that I really like on Beatport or whatever, and I'm like, I really want to do that bass sound or that synth. I know exactly what sort of like riff I want to do for the bass and the sound. Whereas if I'm just messing around, I'm just creating something, I don't do that at all. I will just go through presets and just play around and see where it takes me.
I'm the same, if I've got a specific idea, I really love a track, and I say, I want to do something like that, then like I say, I'll get me drum and use that as a reference. I'll get me kick drum and me bass, and I'll get the stuff that I need there as a foundation to really go like that. Not copy the riff patterns, but just get that foundation set so I can then move on and add stuff in organically to that, along them sort of the direction of that track. If I'm starting a track without a lot of reference, I will just start with the kick and the hi-hat and the thing, and get a bit of a pattern going, and then get the bass going, especially with the driving techno stuff. Well, with anything when I was doing the tech housey stuff and the driver, I'll get them, because I'll get the foundation of the track done. Like, I really like that. And then I will go, once I've got that, I'll start rooting about then and just let it go off. Find a example, the idea that I did when I was telling you about, that's on here. That I've sent over. Again, did the same thing, got the kick. Mooching through some new sounds, found a sick kick, bit of problem, get that in, clap, bits of drums, nothing too dialed in, just loose, you get that feel of it. Once you got that feel right, bass, programmed a pattern, found a sick bass, I was like, that's working so well. Kicking the bass. The other stuff like the hi-hat and the and the hi-hat and the little loop, you can always change them out and look, but for me, kick, bass, foundation, put a little bit of,
you can always go back to them and change it.
Put a little bit of hi-hat and stuff in, right, I've got that, cool. Then I was look for sounds and stuff, so I was adding some little audio sounds. I found a little bass stab thing, like, I like that. I was looking for a riff sound, and I'm looking through presets and stuff and Serum and all that, and then you go, I like that, and it's a bit like that, and you mess about with that, and I put them in. Get another Serum up and start looking again for the lead, and found a stab lead, and like boom, and played that, and it fit. It fit beautifully sonically with it, and then played a nice little riff, and then got some little fillers, and I was like, I'm really happy with it, and just go like that. And then sometimes I'll hit a brick wall with it, so I'll just flick through sounds, and I'll flick through vocals. And
it's important to do that, isn't it?
I'll just go. I could spend an hour just going tap, 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 and then next thing, something perks up, and it can take you off into another direction.
Sometimes I find I do that, but it's important to know that if you're not feeling creative, your brain's not in that creative space, you just need to stop.
Definitely.
So sometimes I'll get too tired, and I'll be like in that hour tapping through, and I won't get anywhere. And I'll just think, right,
I'll leave it till next time. Definitely.
I need to like stop this now.
Because sometimes you get to that point, you rather do break through and then you're away, and you got another, or you get to the point where like, right, I've got to stop. I'm going to stop this now, and then I'll come back to it. You know what I mean? But either on, and you'll go back and then fresh ears, and then boom,
bit of sleep.
You'll get something, and away you go. But I've tried to learn. Well, I have learned to finish tracks. So you can try and not work on too many at because you can get focused in the loop. Just try and work on as much of that track as you can. Because again, if you just do a loop and then you move on to another one and do a loop, and you move on to another one and do a loop, you'll get mint at doing loops. But you just have a load of loops. You've actually got to...
your goal is to actually release tracks.
So if you need a track, you've got to actually finish the track. So you've actually got to get it from the loop to the track. And at first, I used to just do the loops and do that. And then I had to like physically, like consciously say, I need to finish these tracks.
A good point you taught me actually is that dragging another track in, an example, and just showing the layout and just building your track around
that's it. If you've got a 8 bar loop, 16 bar loop like that, and you've got all your elements in, that's another good tip. Drag a track in
Yeah.
Because if you're stuck in that loop and you can't get out of it, drag another track in and just go, right, I've got my kick. His kick starts. He's filtered his kick down for 8 bars.
Yeah.
Then it comes in unfiltered thing, and just do that and map it out. You're not copying the track. You're just looking at the arrangement, and then you arrange your track out.
Yeah.
And it's completely arranged out, and then you can almost listen to that track and go, right, well, he's got a swoop effect there, and I think, oh well, I need some.
Yeah.
I need a riser. I need a little swoosh of breakdown effect. I need a snare. And it's almost like a list.
Yeah.
Like that all the way through. And then you can add them into your track once you've pasted it out and help you get through.
Yeah, you can use like other people's tracks to like almost like as so you might have your arrangement set out, but you might have another track in there and you're like, oh, I really like that bit of how that's laid out.
Yeah, yeah.
Just move that part of your track in that direction.
Yeah, yeah. I like that. I like how he's filled into that. So I'm going to try and look for, not copy, but you go, right, I'm going to look for a little fill.
Take inspiration.
It's almost like someone just wrote you a list, like you need a
you
need a bloody swoosh, we need a kick drum, you need a snare drum. Yeah. You need a snare, you need a ride, and you just end up working down that list and adding them in where they need to be because it's already set out. Yeah, that's a great. That helped me a hell of a lot to finish tracks.
Yeah, it helped me a lot as well. Actually, like before I would almost just like see. I would always start at the breakdown. But when I first started, I would start on these loops, and now I'd find it really easy to like copy and paste out. But I'd always get stuck at the breakdown. Yeah. So now I started a while ago. I started starting at the breakdown and getting all the creative stuff going, and then that would just form the rest of the track. But since you've shown me that, it definitely is a lot quicker.
Like I say, you can just get them loops and then you can just drag them out into loops. Yeah. Top tip.
Top tip.
Top tip. So here's another question. So for people who might be watching and listening, highlight some of the. A lot of people go on about the music industry, and it can be quite, with your mental health and your anxiety and stuff. I know it's tough you've got to try and develop a tough skin bit by bit. Yeah. I know 5 years ago, it would have been so scary for me to send a track out to a label for that rejection, and you do get, it's literally, even if you become a decent sized artist, you do get rejection.
Yeah.
So tell us some of the like almost like not dark thing, but almost like some of the sort of tougher things you've got to deal with in the music industry and how you deal with them.
A rejection is a big one.
Yeah, it is a big.
Yeah. I think a lot of people struggle with that. To be honest, I've never really struggled with it because
showing off.
I do. Not that I get accepted all the time. I've definitely got rejected a lot.
Oh yeah, you do.
But I just I suppose earlier on in my career would hit hard. I suppose, and I would get a bit dejected about it. Yeah. But kind of just pick yourself up, and you've got to keep going through it. And after a while, you get really good at handling it. You just don't give a shit anymore, do you?
No.
And I think that's probably the point you've got to get to. Is just you've got to make stuff for you and love it. As long as you love it, just send it to someone and send it out for release. Yeah. And these days it's a lot easier because you can set up your own label, and if no one wants it, still get it out there because your fan base will like it. Yeah. If it's truly what you like, your fan base will like it. Just because fucking some other label doesn't like it. Yeah. Back in the 15 years ago, you had to go through a label because
you don't have to now, do you?
Yeah, it was really setting up your own label wasn't a thing back then.
Yeah. I suppose that is a good thing now. Like I say, you can set up pretty easy, DistroKid and Ditto and Proton and label with all them type of stuff, depending on whether you just want to release stuff yourself. You can have unlimited releases for like £12 a year, and stuff like that. And you can, with a bit of the right marketing, put some marketing on that through social media and release your own stuff. Yeah, you almost can take that rejection away. It's good if you get signed a track because it almost is a bit of a validation when a big DJ signs the track and all that.
Yeah.
But for me, I found these days it's one of them catch-22s where the bigger labels will sign your tracks when you've got a bigger fan base and it's not just a track. They don't just sign music anymore. They don't. No. If you've got a bit of a fan base and you've released stuff and you've got momentum and you're putting tracks out, and then you're building a bit of hype and a bit of stuff around you and you're getting a few bits, then you're looking more attractive to these labels and they'll jump on you rather than
They're just a business.
Yeah,
aren't they?
exactly. Yeah, so
that's
that's why you've got to look at it as it's not just a music why a label's not signed you. It could be, you know, you look at your social media and there's nothing on it. You look at this and there's, you know,
could be your personality.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be sat here. No, you know, it could be a number of things that they now look at, and with the tools being out there to really push on and do stuff. There's that many other people like using social media to the advantage that labels can sign stuff off. Then you've almost got, it's your job now as a producer and a DJ and an artist to do as much things as you can to get on the radar of these bigger labels.
Yeah, build up your following. You can build up your fan base.
And even when you do that, you're still going to get rejection from personal. I've had tracks, our management, when we was in Versus, our management said they've had the head A&R from Noizu's label contact us asking if we've got any bits. You send over 4 or 5 tracks, you know, we had some bits. Nothing gets signed.
You were saying about Repopulate Mars earlier.
Yeah, Repopulate Mars. We had a track on there. It was like number 5 overall, number 4 in the tech house charts. Really good track. You send them stuff again and
you don't hear back.
You send them stuff, because don't forget as well, these artists and these people are busy.
Yeah,
it's not just a you. They're proper busy.
They've got thousands of people sending them stuff.
Yeah, so it's like that track we did, that Squid Game track. It sort of hit off, a bit of ignition lighted, and everyone wanted to jump on it.
Yeah,
everyone was on it, and so that's what you've almost got to try and create for yourself every time, and get to a point almost like a catch-22 where you put stuff out yourself, and then you get to the point where, well, hang on, I don't necessarily need a label because I've built all this stuff up. So you get to a catch-22 where you can be a bit pickier. Oh, well, I'm not going to release. No, I don't need to release on them labels now because I've gone over them. I can release on them because I'm going to put more time and effort into my release than they are. So what's the point of giving away all my royalties and all my stuff from that? I can keep it myself, you know. So
you almost, like when you first start out, you almost want your own label because you want to be able to release stuff because no one's going to accept you. Well, it's going to be hard to get accepted on any label. So you've got your own label to release stuff and slowly build yourself up. And then every now and again, you might want to push yourself onto a label and try and work yourself up that ladder.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it is. It's definitely a good way now to, you know, for a label, get on the radar for the label to go, oh, who's this guy, or who's this girl, or who's this act, you know. These two. Wow. And then when you're on the radar of them, they look at you, oh, right. Then they go and look, wow, look at that. They've released a track a month for the last 2 years.
And they've got like 10,000 followers or something.
They've got followers. The social media's good. Wow, they've got loads of content on that, and it's really good. That's really good, and that just shows your work ethic. It shows you consistent. It shows so much, and it tells so much about you. If you send a track to a label, you might go, ooh, that's pricked me ears up. That's a track. Who's this? Let me go and have a look. You've had 4 tracks out in 6 years, and your social media's got 4 videos on it and stuff. It just looks bad.
And these A&R people, they aren't like they haven't got a crystal ball, and they don't know what's good or bad. So they tend to go off of your social media and see what other people are doing.
Because they could hear a sick track that's mint, and you've got you know, it shows your work ethic, like with your Spotify and your Apple releases, your schedule. They can look at that and it says a lot. They could go, well, this track is not as good as that track, but this guy with a not as good track necessarily will still work, but he's got a fan base, he's got a good work ethic, he's got a good, because they can invest into you.
They know they're going to get sales.
Exactly, they can invest into you and go, well, this guy, if this track does blow up, he's gonna have loads more tracks for the next one and the next one and the next one. If I sign this track and it goes massive, he might not give me another track for another 8 months, and then you've lost all the momentum. Everything's down. I can't get a track off him. That's why he's only releasing 4 a year.
It doesn't have a fan base.
Yeah, because he's not consistent with his producing. He's not finishing tracks, you know. So you could just blow up and then drop straight back down, and then blow up again, drop straight back down, and then in the end, you're getting nowhere. You're just up and down, where you want to be. You'll have ups and downs, but you want to be raising as you're
constantly going up.
Constantly going up,
Yeah.
And it's not all rosy on the way up. These bad times, dips, bad times. But if you look over a year and you go, right, I've released 12 tracks. I've ended up with 1,000 extra followers. I've ended up with, this and that. And, I've got a 10,000 stream on one of my tracks. And this, I've sent it out to loads of DJs, used a promo service and sent it out to DJs and got really good feedback from that and all. You look back over the year and your momentum, you should be able to see is a lot more.
It's definitely a snowball effect as well, isn't it?
Definitely,
so you might add 1,000 new followers in the first year if you're consistent and you're releasing all this stuff. In the second year, it might be an extra 2,000.
Exactly, yeah, and you just build up.
Yeah.
Good advice. Really good advice.
So get rejected.
Yeah. And if it's like anything, just the more you do anything, the better you get at it.
Yeah.
So the more you get rejected, the better
you'll get rejection.
You're not the more you're not asked.
You'll get more rejections.
If you never. No, it don't work. Just get used to getting rejected because you're gonna, no matter how.
Yeah, no matter how big you get.
Yeah, no matter how big you get, you're still gonna get rejected.
Yeah.
Just like at first you might do 50 tracks before one gets signed. Yeah. When you're bigger, you'll do one every 10 and get that ratio right down. Still get rejected. And I still tell big artists with hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram and stuff like that, nah, that's not for us.
Yeah.
No, we'll think that work and all that.
And that's why you have your own label set up.
Yeah.
So you can still release that stuff.
Exactly, yeah.
Cool. How did you learn to mix, and how did you become how does your mixing style become what it is today from from how you've learned?
So, right, yeah. I learned to mix vinyl, set of decks, Technics. Well, I bought Vez decks, but start with a belt drive, get some direct drive, and then save up and get the best set of direct drives you can get. I got some Vez ones, which is sick. I'll show you the one. I've still got one of them. So that was I learnt with vinyl.
Yeah.
So you literally dropping the beat, you're listening, you're flicking it, keeping it in time, pitching it up, and doing nice mixes and letting them ride. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I suppose back in the day, vinyl, they had nice big long mixes because it took you a while
to
get it in and get it bob on, and then away you go and just mix like that.
No hot cues.
That's probably that's probably been my style. Even now on the controllers and the CDJs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's still my style. Yeah. I sort of like that, the long mixing, get rid of the bass. With the newer equipment, the more, I suppose, like throwing a bit of an acapella over and having some stuff looping, using loops.
Yeah.
It's probably an effect I use now. So you're playing out and you're getting near the end and you go, oh, my track's running out, or I've not got a lot, so I'm going to loop this bit, boom, 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 set a loop, and then you mix that one in and you mix into the loop. That's a good feature.
Yeah.
Key, mixing in key, that's another good feature I use, which takes it.
You never had that back in the day, did you?
No.
You just had to use your ear.
Yeah, exactly. Just all by ear.
And I feel like some of that has been lost a bit.
Yeah.
Because some people just rely on the little keys, in record box or whatever. But I still find tracks that are supposed to be completely out of key and not work, but they do work so together.
I've done that. But and what else as well I notice is a bit lost, because you can, on the digital readout, if you're playing something like 132, you can just go move your slider till it says 132, however much percent that is.
You don't really need sync.
When you used to do all that with you don't really need to sync. You just move it to that. Drop it, get it in, away you go. But I still sort of traditionally mix. How I traditionally would have on vinyl, because that's how I did it for so long. And then I just use some of the features. The decks now are like my push. I use a couple of features on it, and the rest just go to waste. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm not necessarily one with my mixing style to be like chopping, dropping tracks, doing loops, and dropping bits in and samples and that, and missing pitch and all that type of trickery type stuff. I'm not that type of a DJ.
No.
If anything, I like a nice mix it together. Use a bit of looping. Use a bit of looping. Use a bit of a cappella vocal and stuff on the third deck that keeps in, and bits and bobs. Especially now with the key lock.
Oh yeah,
of your
that's
a cappella.
incredible.
You can keep that going through your track even though you
Insane, isn't
change
it?
keys and stuff. So yeah, I'm just more traditional. Added some of the new features in.
Yeah.
Rather than that, you know, going mental on the decks type of a bring up excitement.
Yeah.
Because I think a lot of the excitement is within the music anyway.
Yeah.
I don't need some genres you can have to add that excitement in a little bit.
Your average clubber, they're not going to they're not going to give a shit about what the DJ's doing.
No.
It just looks good to them.
Looks good, yeah, and it looks good online, and it can be a good way to show some skills and do some content and all, and it looks good, and it's decent. You know what I mean?
Average person is there just there for the music.
Yeah, I look at it as if you're rocking the dance floor, then
fine.
it don't matter what you're doing. If you're doing tricks and scratching with your bloody fucking nana's fucking handbag or whatever, or whatever, and if you're doing all that and you're smashing the dance floor, brilliant.
It's a bit like a Carl Cox in a way. He does a few. He's a bit technical, but he's mainly down to his basics. He gets them really spot on.
Yeah, really spot on. I think more important for DJing. More important is being able to learn how to read the crowd and play to the room that you're playing.
Yeah.
If you're playing some absolute banging stuff and all that and they're not having it, you need to know what to do to get them to have it. Because at the end of the day, that is your job as a DJ.
All right.
You need to smash it out so people go, what was that? Because like you said, about 1% of people are out, maybe not even that, but let's just say 1% of people there are asked that you've played an a cappella while two decks are mixing. 99% of people don't care about that.
No,
they don't.
They won't know what is going on anyway. But it'll sound good to them.
Yeah, but if you're doing all that, if you're doing all the tricks and it sounds good and you're smashing it, like some DJs do,
that's great. Yeah,
and big DJs and that they do it, then do that.
Yeah.
But
so here's a question then: if you've played a few tracks and the crowd aren't responding, what's your next move?
You've got to bring out the big hitters, no matter how cheesy they are or whatever.
Yeah.
Example, I went to when I was playing all like the hard housey, clublandy, Scouse housey type stuff back in the day. It was all like the old trancey stuff and hard house stuff and all bits and bobs. I went to do a gig in Cumbria, and I prefer the sort of harder style of the music I was playing.
Yeah.
And so when I went and I was playing that type of stuff, couple of tracks in, I was like, they're not. It's a bit more commercial, this club.
Yeah.
They're a bit more of a commercial crowd. It's not really dead underground. So straight away, next one on is like Pretty Green Eyes.
Yeah.
Pretty Green, and everyone's going, and it's like, there you go. That's it. There's no point me playing the tracks, the sick underground, like more driving stuff.
It's reading the room, isn't it?
Yeah, reading the room.
Yeah,
you go, I've got to play stuff that they know.
Yeah.
Another one as well, I went over to Spain in Bilbao and played at a big warehouse rave in a room 2 with a few Spanish guys that used to come over.
Yeah.
And the Spanish stuff, they had that Spanish donk hard bass stuff and it's a bit mental. Went on to play. It's I was the more traditional pumping off bass stuff.
Yeah.
Played a few tracks. People started fizzling out because they're just into that mad Spanishy donk type stuff. I had to, so straight away, right. I could have just carried it going, well, this is what I play.
Yeah.
And it could have been shit and just filtered out, and then I've probably killed the night and into the thing. So I just went, right, I had to go through all that, try and find anything as close to that stuff, and that's what I then played then kept most of the room then. Because not just that, then the next DJ on after me, people are going to go get off interested, and they might not wander back in the room, and the DJ before, they've got the night going, and then you come in and kill it. I mean, I was like a guest DJ in anyway, so I just had to go through and try and get all my, stuff that they would know, and that sort of style of stuff that was a bit more.
It's a bit of a half and half, isn't it? You've got to cater for people who want to see what you do, and also you've got to play a bit of like please the crowd a bit.
Yeah, definitely. And in that Spanish gig when I was in Bilbao, we were in the mountains in Bilbao in this warehouse thing. Nobody gave a shit who I was, but they're there for the night. It was just, I knew my Spanish mates were the residents there, and they booked it and got over, and they come over because we got them over here, so we go over there and play. So I knew that. So they just get guests on an international getting all like looks good, but so I knew like 99% of people probably didn't know or didn't care. So I'm like, shit, but I'm playing, so I've got to I got to play for them. In fact, it's probably still a video on YouTube. I did a little video of it, like a little vlog of the trip.
All right.
And it's probably still on YouTube somewhere. If you search Scott Rez,
we're going to stick it in the top right corner now somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's
if you found it
might still be on there. Yeah, but I put it on the YouTube channel and all that. It's hilarious. But you can actually go and see that gig.
Yeah.
It's on there, that little vlog when we went over.
Yeah.
But you can.
I do something similar. You know, I will probably prepare a bunch of tracks. I'll think about the night, and I'll think about what sort of crowd is probably going to be there. I'll prepare a bunch of tracks I think will go well there, and then I'll have about another 50, 60 tracks that I'll just have like I know that always work, or there'll be different styles. And then when I'm playing, well, when I first arrive at the gig, I'll be kind of reading the room a bit, seeing what the other DJs are playing, kind of feeling the vibe. And then when I'm on, I'll be just testing little bits out and seeing what works, and just having a look at the crowd. If that big bass drop goes down well, see people kicking off. You know, like I'll play another one of those a bit further down the line. And also like not keeping the tracks all quite the same. So like if they like a big bass drop and then they like a bit of hands in the air vocal stuff, I'll keep mixing it in and out.
And the thing with that is as well, you can sort of if you get the crowd, and they're having it, them couple of cheesy ones and all that, you can pop a little bit of a darker one in, and then you can pop a little bit darker one because you still got them. They sort of trust you because you played a few tracks, and then that sort of darker one, then you whack in a bigger one that it sort of emphasises that a little bit. You sort of brought them down a little bit, and then boom, straight, and then up even bigger rather than just going big. Just looks flat.
Yeah, it does.
You know what I mean? So
you need to move the energy up and down.
You can move in the energy and stuff and that, which then emphasises the big one and stuff and all that.
Tell you what, one of my favourite tricks that I don't see any other DJ do is when you're playing a track and it gets through to the breakdown. I actually sometimes I like get the volume and just slightly lower it down a little bit, and then when it comes just to the drop, I just whack it up again
so it comes a bit louder.
Nails it every time, and it's just like a really simple trick that fucking works every time.
Top tip. There you go. Top tip. There you go.